There are moments in life when everything collapses, when betrayal feels like a knife to the heart, when failure burns your pride to ashes, when loss steals the very breath from your chest. And yet, you remain standing, bruised but unbroken, torn but still walking through the fire with quiet eyes. You endure storms that should have destroyed you. You face rejection, loneliness, and pain that most would run from. And still, somewhere deep inside, there's an unshakable calm, a silent strength that feels almost otherworldly. Most people call it luck. Others think it's emotional numbness. But the wise, those who walk the inner path, know it's something far greater. Because when reason becomes your compass and nature becomes your teacher, something extraordinary happens. A higher force, call it the logos, call it divine order, call it destiny, places its invisible armor upon your soul. And in this video from Stoic Sage Academy, we'll uncover the 4 powerful signs that your spirit has already been chosen, protected and guided by that unseen force. 1. When revenge no longer tempts you, you've aligned with something higher. There comes a moment in every person's journey when silence becomes more powerful than the sharpest reply. When someone wrongs you, mocks you, betrays you, and your first instinct is not to fight but to breathe, that is not weakness. That is wisdom. That is evolution. You are no longer reacting from the wound. You are responding from awareness. And that is the moment the universe quietly bows in your favor. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." To the ordinary mind, those words sound like restraint, but to the awakened soul, they are a shield, spiritual armor forged in self-mastery. Because when you refuse to mirror cruelty, you are no longer bound to the same low vibration that created it. You rise above it. You stop dancing to someone else's chaos. You step out of the emotional prison where most people live their entire lives. Think about it. When you crave revenge, you are asking your pain to guide you. You hand over your peace. You let another's poison become the architect of your behavior. Their darkness starts living inside you, rent-free. And slowly, you become what you once despised. But when you choose stillness instead of spite, reflection instead of reaction, you win without striking. Because you've turned the battlefield inward and conquered the only enemy that ever truly existed. Your own uncontrolled emotion. Those who are ruled by anger are already defeated. Their judgment fogs. Their decisions decay in bitterness. Their spirit corrodes under resentment. They wake each day reliving their anger like it's sacred. And that, the Stoics would say, is a tragedy. A life wasted on shadows. Yet the one who has mastered his reaction, who can watch betrayal unfold and still remain calm, becomes untouchable. He trusts that justice, in its divine timing, never misses. He understands that peace is not passivity. It is power under full control. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The man who lives by this truth wears an invisible armor. Every insult hits the surface but never penetrates. Every attempt to provoke falls flat, as if striking stone. He walks through chaos as if protected by something unseen, not because life is easy, but because his inner world is untouchable. No manipulation can sway him, no hatred can stain him. He has turned every wound into wisdom, every disappointment into discipline. This kind of strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout or demand validation. It moves quietly, calm, centered, and unshakable. People feel it before he even speaks. Enemies sense it and grow uneasy, because you cannot fight someone who refuses to descend to your level. When your peace becomes too expensive to be disturbed, when you can sit inside the fire and still breathe slowly, still see clearly, then you've crossed into rare territory. You are no longer reacting to life. You are flowing with it. You are not just surviving the storm. You are walking beside something greater, something higher, that shields without sound and guides without command. That is not indifference. That is mastery. And mastery, in the language of Stoicism, is divine protection. 2. When you stop running from solitude, you begin to hear the voice of your soul. There comes a sacred turning point in every person's life, a moment when the noise of the world begins to feel heavy and silence starts to call your name. It's quiet at first, almost unsettling. The same silence that once made you restless now feels strangely comforting. And that, my friend, is no ordinary moment. It's a sign that a higher power has begun to separate you from the chaos that once consumed you. The second sign that you are being protected by something greater is this: you are no longer afraid of being alone. Where others hear emptiness, you hear peace. Where others panic in isolation, you find alignment. Most people cannot bear the weight of their own thoughts. They drown in silence. They suffocate without noise. They cling to endless distraction: screens, gossip, validation, entertainment, anything that keeps them from facing the vast mirror of their own soul. But those who are guided by reason, by nature, by the divine order of the Logos, they understand that solitude is not a void. It is a vessel. Solitude is not the absence of company. It is the presence of clarity. It's where your scattered thoughts finally gather. It's where your emotions, once loud and tangled, begin to soften into understanding. It's where your soul, buried beneath years of noise, begins to whisper truths you had forgotten. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled over one of the greatest empires in history, did not find his strength in armies or power, but in the sanctuary of his own solitude. Amid war, betrayal, and endless duty, he turned inward. And there, in the quiet space of his mind, he discovered a retreat untouched by the world's storms. He wrote to himself, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." To the unwise, solitude looks like loneliness. But to the awakened, it is a sacred dialogue between the self and the universe. It is where wisdom plants its roots. It is where discipline becomes devotion. It is where you stop chasing people and start meeting your own depth. When you can sit alone and feel full. When you can be unseen yet unshaken, unheard yet at peace. You have stepped into a higher realm. A place where validation loses its grip and stillness becomes strength. You no longer chase attention because your awareness itself has become enough. This is not punishment. This is divine protection disguised as detachment. You've been pulled away from noise, not because you've been forgotten, but because you're being refined. The universe isolates you to sharpen your vision, to cleanse your energy, and to reveal who truly deserves a place in your peace. Most will never understand that solitude is not an escape. It's an initiation. It's the training ground of strength, where the soul learns to lead without applause, to heal without witnesses, and to grow without permission. The man who can sit alone masters the hardest kingdom to rule, his own mind. He learns the difference between desire and purpose, between emotion and truth, between what is urgent and what is eternal. And once he learns that, the world can no longer control him. Seneca warned us long ago, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. And he was right. When your attention is scattered across everyone's opinions, everyone's business, everyone's noise, you lose the center that holds you together. You become diluted. You forget your own voice, but when you can sit still, when you can close your eyes and find entire universes within your breath, you become unshakable. The storms may rage, the world may crumble, but within you, there is order. There is calm. There is clarity. You become peaceful, not because life is gentle, but because you've made peace with its wildness. You become focused, not because the noise disappears, but because your silence has become louder than the world's chaos. That is the power of solitude, and that is how a higher force chooses to protect those who are ready to rise above the noise. 3. You remain unshaken when the world seeks to provoke you. There is a certain power, subtle, silent, almost terrifying, in not reacting. A power that confounds the world because most expect chaos in return for chaos. They expect anger, tears, defensiveness. They expect you to mirror the storm. But when you remain unmoved, when your heart is steady and your mind clear, they realize something remarkable. You cannot be touched. Your silence becomes a fortress. Your calm becomes armor. Your restraint becomes authority. Most people are prisoners of emotion. Every insult tugs at them. Every betrayal cuts them deeply. Every failure feels like a personal collapse. They are tossed like leaves in the wind, reacting to the world instead of shaping their response to it. But those who are protected by something higher, whether you call it reason, nature, or divine order, do not bend so easily. To lose your temper is to surrender your throne. To react with anger is to give away your sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Strength is not in domination. Strength is in self-mastery. When everything around you screams for a reaction, your calmness becomes a defiance so profound it borders on sacred. There is something almost divine about the person who can stand in the center of chaos and remain unmoved. When lies are hurled at you, betrayal pierces like a blade, disrespect surrounds you, and you simply breathe, observe, and choose stillness. That is not weakness. That is spiritual authority. That is mastery of the self, which no external force can overthrow. The Stoics taught that no one can harm you unless you allow them to. Anger, resentment, revenge, these are all invitations you can choose to accept or refuse. Every time you respond with rage, every time you react without restraint, you surrender your inner kingdom. Seneca said it plainly, "He who angers you conquers you." Think about that. Every outburst, every flare of emotion, not caused by others, but by your own lack of discipline, hands power to those who meant to harm you. But when you do not react, when you rise above provocation, you reclaim your peace. You step out of the cycle of manipulation. You break the chain of control. Your calm becomes a shield that no insult can penetrate. Your composure becomes a quiet fortress, and within it, you are untouchable. When your mind no longer reacts to the world's provocations, the world itself begins to look different. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to prove yourself. You understand that composure is not passivity. It is dominance. Dominance over yourself, over your impulses, over the chaos that seeks to control you. The calm terrifies the chaotic. Because silence exposes instability. Because stillness unmasks the desperate need for attention. Because restraint is more powerful than force. This calm is not indifference. It is not detachment from humanity. It is heightened awareness. It is clarity in a world designed to confuse. It is the recognition that most battles are not worth fighting, most provocations not worth answering, and most insults not worth absorbing. Peace is your weapon. Composure is your strategy. Silence is your victory, and make no mistake, this power does not come easily. It is forged in suffering. It is refined in betrayal. It is tempered in the long, painful moments when you swallowed your pride, resisted the urge to lash out, and walked away. Every time you chose stillness instead of rage, silence instead of argument, reason instead of reaction, your strength grew. Each act of self-mastery built invisible armor that no storm can penetrate. The world feeds on reaction. It mocks to control. It provokes to dominate. But when you rise above, when manipulation, judgment, disrespect, and chaos bounce harmlessly off your calm, you are no longer a participant in its games. You belong to a higher order. You have crossed into a realm where inner freedom reigns. This is the sign of divine protection. Not that life becomes easier, but that chaos loses its power over you. You move through storms untouched, because your peace is not borrowed. It is forged from mastery, from choice, from unwavering self-discipline. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." The calm person lives by this truth. He does not need to prove his intelligence. He does not need to win every argument. He understands that truth is not validated by reaction, but by endurance. His silence is louder than any shout. His restraint more commanding than any rage. Every time you remain calm while others unravel, every time you rise above anger instead of falling into it, every time you choose composure over chaos, you are not surrendering. You are claiming power. You are becoming untouchable. You are living proof that mastery over the self is the ultimate strength. 4. You lose people. but your peace remains unshaken. There is a quiet, almost sacred calm that follows loss, a stillness that many find unbearable. The world shouts, panics, and clings, but those guided and protected by something higher, by reason, by nature, by the invisible hand of divine order, they do not merely survive loss. They grow through it. When a Stoic loses someone, something, or somewhere he held dear, he does not collapse into despair. He does not scream at the void or curse the world. He remembers the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And in that same quiet understanding, he knows this truth. Everything he loves was never truly his to keep. All attachments, people, places, positions, possessions, are temporary. They are gifts that flow through our lives, not anchors to bind us. We live in a world obsessed with clinging. People hold tightly to relationships, status, validation, and appearances. They are afraid of emptiness, terrified of silence, desperate to be understood, accepted, and loved by all. But a strong mind and a guarded soul see through the illusion. They know, the more you cling, the more you suffer. The Stoics taught that true peace is found not in accumulation, but in letting go. Not in control, but in surrender. Not in needing more, but in needing less. And that includes letting go of the need to be understood, the need to be admired, and even the need to be loved by everyone around you. As you begin to evolve, as you practice self-control, choose silence over noise and cut out drama, the people around you will change. Not because you have grown cold or cruel, but because you no longer feed chaos. Those who thrive on gossip, conflict, and emotional turbulence cannot survive near someone who does not react. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." And that is the natural law of life in motion. As you prioritize peace over attention, solitude over shallow company, truth over comfort, the crowd around you begins to thin. At first it stings. It feels like loss. It feels like abandonment. But slowly, you realize it is protection, not punishment. The universe is clearing the space around you, removing what disturbs your inner balance, making room for what truly matters. Losing people is not a curse. It is an invitation. An invitation to step deeper into your own life, to grow stronger in self-mastery, to cultivate a garden where your peace is the only currency. Those who leave were never meant to be part of the path you are walking, and those who remain are the ones who resonate with your evolution, the ones who reflect your higher self back to you. In this way, loss becomes a teacher, not a wound. Every goodbye, every fading connection, every drift into silence is a gift in disguise. It is the universe pruning the unnecessary, clearing the clutter, refining the soul. And when you can lose people without losing yourself, without losing your calm, your center, your inner fortress, you have reached a rare and sacred state. You have entered the realm of the truly free, a realm where your peace is untouchable, your mind unshakable, and your heart aligned with what is eternal, not fleeting. And in that space, you understand something profound. Losing people is not deprivation. It is liberation, the unseen armor of the Stoic soul. There comes a moment when you finally understand life was never meant to spare you from pain. It was meant to shape you through it. Every loss, every betrayal, every silence, every test, all of it has been training your spirit to become something unbreakable. You've learned that revenge is weakness disguised as strength, that solitude is not loneliness but alignment, that calmness is not indifference but mastery, and that losing people is not tragedy but transformation. You've discovered the quiet truth the Stoics lived by, that the world cannot truly harm you unless you surrender your mind to it. That peace is not the absence of storms, but the art of standing still within them. This is the unseen armor of the Stoic soul, forged in discipline, polished by reflection, strengthened by acceptance. It is the kind of armor that does not glitter or announce itself, but radiates through presence alone, and maybe, just maybe, that invisible force you felt guiding you all along the calm in your storms, the order in your chaos has been the Logos itself. Nature, reason, divine order, whatever name you give it, it has been shaping you into someone the world cannot shake. So as you walk forward, remember this. You don't need to control everything, only yourself. You don't need to seek peace. You are peace when you live in accordance with reason and virtue. You don't need to be protected from the world. You have already become the protection. Thank you for walking this journey with us. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who's still finding their calm in the chaos. This is Stoic Sage Academy, where we don't just talk about philosophy, we live it. Until next time, stay grounded, stay strong, and as Marcus Aurelius said, look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look.